The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Leafs laid an egg on home ice, except for they did get a goal, but it was really,
John Tavares is the best player, I think, in the league, definitely in Leafs history, at scoring a goal in a game where his team was dog shit.
Yeah, he does do that.
All the time.
Yeah.
Leafs only goal scorer.
Because he
7,
tries.
2019. I'll never forget.
He's a guy that never doesn't try. Now, there's a couple ways you can look at this.
Why does laying an egg have a bad connotation?
It's technically good.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's like, why was the goat being a goat a bad thing until recently when it's now greatest of all time?
Yeah, wasn't it like you're a billy goat?
Yeah.
Isn't
Is that bad? Are goats bad?
Is that the worst kind?
I don't know. But I know that,
Are
like,
there better kinds
like
of
when
goats?
I'm reading the Showtime book about the Lakers dynasty, and they're like, yeah, well, he sure was the GOAT in that game. And I'm like, but he played bad. Oh, right, because he's not the greatest of all.
It's just like eggs are delicious.
Yeah.
And everybody loves eggs and like bacon and eggs.
And have them for dinner.
And use them for baking.
That's right. There you
Use
go.
them for anything.
Exactly.
Also, fucking with someone's house if they don't give you enough candy.
We need some etymology on that
Yeah,
one.
there you go. I don't understand that one either. Yeah. Carlo Koliakovo tweeted this, and Carlo is a former Leaf, so we can take his opinion pretty seriously. He said, this game for the Leafs is what most would describe as a scheduled loss. First game back after a long road trip. They're always the toughest. It was an uphill battle before it started, and it was a game full of sloppiness. Leaf fans shouldn't overreact to the result tonight. So that's one way you can look at last night.
Yeah.
The other way you could.
The other one.
The other one you could do. Do you remember that? Do you remember that Vine with the Frisbee guy? And he's like, "What the fuck, Richard?"
Yeah.
When he throws it on the
It's still one of my favorites.
That feels like the other way to look at it. There are those who are the rational and who will convince you that they don't feel anything. They only look at the numbers, and there's a lot of games, right? Like, how many games?
There's 82 games.
Right.
That's so many games.
But it is frustrating, is it not? Like, here's the thing. I feel like it's frustrating, and that in 2 weeks we won't remember it, but it doesn't make it not frustrating in the moment.
I think there's two things at play here. Number one, it's very difficult to be a professional hockey player. There's an 82 game season. That's so many games. And in those 2 off days you get between games, now you're coming home, you're being super dad. Mm-hmm. You're being super boyfriend, you're being super husband, you're being, whatever. That is all very true. The other thing that's true is there were 20,000 fucking people in that building last night who wasted their fucking time.
Halloween.
Wasted their time, wasted their night, wasted their money. There were people like that game. I know in the grand scheme of things what that game meant, and it's not much, right? It's game 9, but zero hyperbole. There are people who aren't going to go to another hockey game because they went to that one.
Because it's expensive. Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, I had people reaching out to me like this was the first time I ever spent money on tickets, and no, never again. Like, I'm going to Hail Mary, hope a neighbor can't go or a richer family member can't go. I'm not paying for
that. Could be emotion in the moment too. I'm sure that they
yeah, but I've been to games where I've felt that way.
Sure,
like,
and I don't fault anybody for. Here's the thing on Twitter. What happens is this thing called gaslighting, where you react to things and people say, "Calm down." And I want to remind people that fans, it's short for fanatics.
Yeah.
So that means that you live and die by the team, whether it's rational or not, and it's always irrational. And so if you were upset last night and you're upset this morning, that's okay.
Calm
as long
down.
as you're not DMing the players and saying stupid shit.
Yes.
Be a fan.
Calm down, and it's not a big deal. Is just not a welcome opinion in the world of sports. You're lost.
I also think Morgan Riley said it best last night, and this is the kind of mentality that I want the Leafs to have, because there was a couple of quotes. More than the game, I think the quotes said a lot. And Morgan Riley said, you want to learn how to win against teams who play this way. And what that translates to is, this is a very good hockey team, especially on defense. This is a test for us, and we clearly didn't pass it.
Yeah, and the good thing about, failing an early season test is where your weaknesses are. The bottom 6, oof, Maroon.
Yeah.
And you get good Klingberg, bad Klingberg. Last night was bad Klingberg. The depth is a problem on this team, up front and on the back end. It's a problem. Like,
It always sort of has been.
Yeah.
But they plugged the gaps.
but like at the beginning of the season when they had Minton on the third line, like right away you're like, okay, there's two outcomes here. Number one is Minton is fantastic and stays in that role the entire year. Option two is he's not, and they have to go out and get another center because Kampf isn't an option there. I don't care what you're paying him. He's not an option there. Every single night, the Nyes Kampf Domi line takes the ice is a waste of everyone's time. It's a waste of everyone's time. Kampf is not an option on the third line. He's not an option to play higher than fourth line in the National Hockey League. Stop it. It's a waste of time. Like, those are two gifted offensive hockey players. You're wasting their time.
Right.
It's
Which is,
just-
I think the idea was to keep Ryan O'Reilly, right? That was for that slot.
Cool, but
Yeah.
like you didn't, and you didn't months ago.
Yeah.
So what are you doing other than wasting everyone's time?
I think that's the reasonable way to look at a game like this, because we have this conversation every single year because teams don't go 82-0. Like you can replay last October in a game where the Leafs didn't show up because it was the last game of a long road trip or the first game back or something, and they had a lackluster performance at home, and it's the exact same conversation. It's like, oh, that was a waste of time and all that nonsense. But the way you just talked about it, and you're like, okay, the bottom six isn't good enough. Let's go figure it out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at this.
So
It's
there's a
not-
benefit.
It's not, oh, they lost that game. They didn't show up versus LA. They're not making it out of the playoffs. It's a long season,
Yes.
and the bottom six wasn't good. So let's go try and solve that.
Yeah.
That is a constructive conversation that you can have out of these games.
And
doing the other thing, we're just yelling about being upset. Like, that doesn't help anything.
Right. But in my defense, even though I yelled and screamed with the tinfoil hat on last night, I wasn't like, well, now they're going to lose in the playoffs.
No. I feel like you take a look at the roster and you say where they failed against a very good LA team, that just what Morgan Riley talked about, is now we fix the deficiencies in the lineup.
Right. I think Sheldon Keefe, who, like, you know how we've had coaches where you're like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, you just don't think about hockey the way anybody wants you to. Keefe generally hasn't had like too many mystifying decisions. There's some stuff where it's like, I'd do that different, or I'd do that. This camp with Nyes and Domi one is the first one where I'm like, Sheldon, that's enough.
I wonder if
Stop it, please knock it off.
I wonder if that's a message upstairs, like, I don't have any other options here.
You do, though.
Well, you put
Like-
Domi at center?
You put Holmberg there and see if he's got it. And if he doesn't, you send him down and call up the next guy. Like, just because can Alex Steves do it? That I'm telling you, Kampf can't do it. So then you see if Holmberg can do it. And if he can't do it, then it becomes a deeper conversation.
Can Joseph Blandisi do it?
He's not signed to an NHL deal, unfortunately.
Did the Domi Nyes connection ruin them? Like, they had two really good periods this season.
Yeah.
They did.
That might have been bad because now there was some belief shot into that line. Like, hey, look, Domi got him the puck a couple times. This thing could work. And since then, it's been nothing.
Well,
Before that, it was nothing.
Though. It could work.
But before that, it was nothing. Then we had two great periods of Domi and Nyes. And then since that, it's been really nothing.
I don't have a problem with their chemistry together. Domi maybe takes too many penalties. The way I described it yesterday, and we can relate to this as three guys who sit all beside each other. Kampf in the middle of Domi and Nyes is like two really good friends trying to have a conversation in a bar, and the guy in the middle won't move.
And he's talking over him?
Yeah, and you're like, hey, I think we should score. What do you think about that? Yeah, I also think we should try to score. And the guy in the middle is just like,
I take the first face-off in overtime.
you like, that's enough.
Yeah.
Sheldon, that's enough.
Hey, so you're cool with him taking the first face-off in overtime, but he can't
Not
send to the
anymore.
third line?
Not anymore. It's over. It's over. No, listen, I said it.
Now it's over.
I said it. Then they won, and I was right.
And David Kopp scored that goal too, which was such bullshit. I think
No, he didn't
Didn't he
score that
score a winner last year
In overtime?
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
I would remember
And
that.
you were like, you were gloating. You were gloating.
I would have. No, I would have lost.
Are you
my
sure?
mind. That was the night I broke my nose.
Oh,
That's so. Oh, that was the. I celebrated. I was on the phone with Adam. He was baked out of his mind. That's why he doesn't remember. And I went, yeah, and then I went, oh,
that I remember.
because I yelled really hard and I hurt my face. by doing that. I can't remember who ended up scoring the winner, but no, like, and I'm not. Now here's the ironic thing though. He's not bad. I'm not saying he's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying like you've got a it's like a Porsche you're driving in the mud, or I guess the opposite of that. Like it's not built for that. This is a Jeep that you're driving
in a
down.
Formula One track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a fine, defensive, bang and crash, fourth line player. Can't be on your third line.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think obviously his contract is going to come up with certain circles because he makes $2.5 million or whatever. Listen, they got to find. They got to find. I don't disagree necessarily, but they got to find something. They still have to do it.
We're spending a lot of time talking about Ryan Reeves, and listen, he wasn't great last night, and I'm starting to get really frustrated there. Kampf. Yeah, like, listen, you sign him to all this money. That doesn't mean you need to take him out of the role that earned him that contract.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay, he's making a little too much for a fourth liner. Fine. Let him be a really good fourth liner.
Mm-hmm.
And see if one of your kids can fill that third line role.
Ryan Reeves was the goal he was on the ice for, he was completely lost in the middle. Did you see him like looking around for a guy to grab, and as he's looking around, the puck goes by him and into the back of the net? That was just horrendous hockey play from an NHLer. That was substandard NHL hockey defense going on right there in the middle of the ice. Before we get too far from David Kampf, trivia, when was the last time he scored a goal?
Oh, he scored so many last season, like at the beginning of the season. I'm going to say like a year ago, like November 2022.
I'll say February.
Not that far, Steve Dangle. The last time he scored a goal was March 1st versus Edmonton last year.
Do not recall.
That's okay. You don't need to remember it.
Yeah, that's a long time in between goals, and none this season.
Yeah.
Like he's a zero offensively.
Well, and like how many scoring chances has he had? Like Reeves has had like 3 or 4.
Yeah. You just think that a guy with Kamp's skill set would be able to luck into a goal.
Nope.
I think that we, obviously there is something to be said about the depth on the team and that they're still working it out, right? Because, if this was a Kyle Dubas team and this is the team Kyle Dubas iced, you would say, Kyle, you've had a lot of time to put this team together. This isn't good enough.
Right.
What you have to say with Brad is, this is an incomplete product because this isn't his team yet, right?
Right. Who was the coach that we talked about? He got asked a question by a reporter, and it was about the salary cap and not allowing you to be able to hold your team accountable. It was Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah, because they were running 20-man roster and they can't sit anybody.
Like Tyler Bertuzzi is obviously hurt. Mm-hmm. Obviously not hurt enough to be on LTIR, which the Leafs cannot handle a player being banged up. You need to be like out, or like McCabe being out of the lineup but not on LTIR is they can't handle it. So like I think it'd be a really easy solution to have Bertuzzi sit a few games, call up Robertson, who's been great, have him fill in that role. They can't do it. Like they can't afford these very simple solutions to things. So
the salary cap has ruined stuff like roster management. Like you have guys,
especially it being flat for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's been the hard part, right? I don't think next year this will be as much of a problem, but when the majority of the league now is right up against it, you can't do anything. Can't do anything.
Yeah, you have teams all around the league playing down a man just because like that's the salary cap.
What is it?
Not you're at that point. Like when are you taking away from the sport because of your hard cap that's got no leeway?
Opening night rosters, like teams playing short a man on opening night is a disgrace. You're an unserious sport. Now, and that being said, this is game 9. The Leafs have known this reality for like a month. Fucking figure it out. The team you're icing isn't good enough. They're fine. They're fine. I don't think we're terribly invested in fine.
Yeah, we're not saying they're the Sharks. Like
I want them to win, and this is where I get frustrated because, and I think a lot of people to that point, get frustrated with quotes like this, okay? Marner talking about last night stressed the importance of the Leafs focusing on themselves because there was booing after the first period, and says, according to Mike Stevens, he thought the team actually did well in preventing the Kings from moving the puck to the middle of the ice during a shift at the end of the second period. And so what he's doing here is people are going to take this quote and blow it up. He's going, okay, he's got to focus on the little victories. But this team, as much as the little victories lead to the big victories, has to look at every test against a potential, if you want to call the Kings an outside Stanley Cup favorite, go ahead. They're the second best team in their division right now. Vegas is having an otherworldly start, but LA is right there. And with Edmonton falling off, at least to start the year, there's nobody else that's going to touch these two teams. And so the Leafs, if they plan on making the Stanley Cup final, which they should be, this is a team they could very easily face. And I think what I would like to see...
Could barely get across the offensive blue line.
What I'd like to see is, we talk about David Kampf on the third line all we want. Mitch Marner's had a quote-unquote slow start. He still got 8 points in 9 games. I think we're seeing with this team, more than a lot of other NHL teams, when the guys who are the main scorers aren't doing it, and I include Bertuzzi in that.
Yep.
I include.
Of course you should.
I think on a depth level, Nyes and Domi need to get going.
Yeah.
But Marner specifically, if you're not having otherworldly nights at least once a week, then you're in trouble. And it's Austin's had a really good start. Tavares and Nylander have had a really good start. I don't want to take away from Mitch's start because it's been okay. But on a night like that, that's a night where you need the fourth guy, whoever that is, to step up in that group. And I think, Carlo Koliakovo's comment about, it's tough to come back and, off of a road trip. And I 1,000% understand that these people are human beings.
Yes.
But LA is not like if the Ducks, the Ducks are just down the road from LA. If the Ducks had been in town and the Leafs had a shitty performance, I'd be less worried about it. But this is a game you have to get up for.
Well, now you got Boston.
Right.
Now you got Boston.
And I think they'll get up for Boston. Boston's been unreal, though.
Yeah. Also, your Vancouver Canucks erasure is egregious.
Oh, you're right. They've had a really great start. And I actually have news on them.
They're ahead of the Kings in the standings.
I can't wait to get Bud Actually about that. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. I'm sure everybody with a rational brain's like, yes, the Canucks are as good as the Kings for sure. I'm sure they are. I'm sure. My point is, it is going to be time soon for Mitch Marner to come in and be the Mitch Marner that we know and love.
Do these conversations happen in other markets?
Yes.
Like where Kucherov has a bad game and we go, but he's a point-a-game player. What the fuck? Yeah, but you're Nikita Kucherov. Like, that's the gig.
Yeah, you have to be a point-a-game player.
Marner has 8 points in 9 games. Actually, you know what? If you look at Marner historically, 8 points in 9 games is disappointing.
It's underperforming. This is a guy that was a point short of 100 last year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he can't get there. I'm not saying that, but it's like at a certain point, going through all of October and only scoring 8 points is not where Mitch Marner wants to be.
Point per game players don't make $11 million.
No.
No,
they don't.
You make 7 or 8.
More than that.
Something like Austin, that. 6, 7, or 8.
Austin, too, has 1 goal outside of 2 hat tricks.
Yeah.
I think the two of them right now are struggling together. Like that Mitch and Austin connection hasn't been there. Like it hasn't been electric.
And I think it's because part of it too is that they don't. Well, you can't separate them because Tavares and Nylander have been so great.
Yeah, you can't.
And then so the other thing is there's that the third spot on that line. This is a team that didn't want to hang on to Bunting, but it worked. This is a team that couldn't hang on to Hyman. And that
Trevor
worked.
Moore got an assist last night. There's another one.
Well, that was a little bit different.
The amount of guys around the periphery who the Leafs haven't been... You could make a fucking all-star team out of them.
You should do the third winger on that, or the second winger on that line video. Like, go back and just all of the guys who have played with Mitch and Austin.
Do you know, like... Like, those guys are responsible for like inflation within the league. Like, think of how many guys they've made millions. Bunting came to Toronto on a 2-year, $900,000 contract. Ilya Mikheyev.
Oh yeah.
Zach Hyman, Connor Brown. Alex Barabanov did that on his own. Good for him. Trevor Moore went out and did that on his own. Good for him. Like, look at all the guys they've lost. But it's okay. You know what they got in return for all those guys? Fuck all!
I think the point is that if the team is going to be built this way and going to continue to be built this way, then it puts an undue amount of pressure on the guys that are going to make the undue amount of money.
Well,
and
maybe this time
we need
a combination of 4 guys making everything all work.
Right. And so
this was the concern in the offseason. This was the concern. Now you got a fucking teenager playing on the third line. Now you got an injured guy playing in your top 6. I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I am not going to give you a break for problems you created.
You know how many times Steve has said that to me?
Fix it or fuck off. I like...
He's hardcore.
I don't know. We're all busy people. We got busy lives. Do you have an entertaining product or not? It's entertaining if the team is good.
Sometimes it's entertaining if like when they were not good, but they were trying. Like the first Babcock year, that was an entertaining year. I had fun.
Yeah, but it was depressing entertaining.
Yeah. We had fun though. At least they were trying to be bad, right?
Like
we had fun that year.
we have shows that like give you advice on your fantasy picks. We have shows that give you advice on your betting picks. I would have liked a show before this one to be like, it's a schedule loss, save your money, don't go.
That is the problem I have with it too. Like Carlo is coming from a player's point of view. They can't win every game. They're going to be exhausted. He's right on all that.
He's right.
I think if the Leafs had lost the way they lost to Nashville, we're not having this conversation.
I thought that was an okay game.
That's what I mean.
Oh, I see. I understand.
Right? If they had been close or it just didn't go their way. But I think somebody passed me on the street while I was taking my daughter to school this morning at 7:30.
Unreal.
And she was like, "Oh, they really turned it off last night, didn't they?" Didn't even say hi. She just said they really. I was like, "Yeah, they did."
But is the expectation that the Leafs show up for all 82?
Yes.
Well,
you got to show up.
No, but does every team in every sports league show up for every game of the regular season?
No, but then what's our job?
But this isn't just any game. This is LA. This is a good team.
Right. But they just in terms of them as people, they just might not have it as a group that night,
and they didn't.
And I think it's more constructive to break down their deficiencies as they were laid out on the ice last night.
Another thing to do with the cap, we could get into this. So it's a schedule loss. These guys are tired. Man, it'd be great to have spare players.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Imagine being able to insert 2 or 3 guys who hungry minor leaguers who like
come in and just have crazy energy.
Yeah, who should maybe be on your team anyway.
That's such a good point because that's something that's gone away from the game of hockey in the last 10 years is the healthy scratch who sits up in the press box that you throw in your lineup every now and again.
No, now you have the healthy scratch who's there explicitly for their cap hit, like a Simone Benoit. Like, it flies in the face of sports. It flies in the space of sporting and competition. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough as a league structure, and it's not good enough in terms of you're the Leafs and you knew that shit was coming.
Right.
I wonder if Dubas was still here, Mitch would still be on the team.
I don't think he would.
That's an interesting question.
Because that is
a very interesting
his no
question.
trade clause kicked in on July 1st, and they had from getting eliminated from Florida till July 1st to move him, and they're changing GM, so it wasn't going to happen. But if they had stuck with their GM, I'll for the rest of my life, I'll wonder if he would have still been a Leaf.
No,
it didn't sound like they were going to keep all 4 together, or at least Kyle didn't want to.
He made the most sense.
He made the most sense. Tavares, you weren't going to get anything for, and he's been great. Matthews, I mean, you should probably keep your cornerstone.
You fold the team if you trade Matthews.
Yeah. Will you get the most for, but it doesn't really solve your biggest problem, which is the cap. So what was left was Mitch. Like, to me, it was pretty loud and clear that it was going to be Mitch. And now he'll either be a Leaf forever or they lose him for nothing.
I think if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have to look at the next 3 to 4 years as like, here's our next new plan. Right? When they started, it was like Lou Lamoriello's 5-year plan that changes every day, right?
Yeah.
And I think Treliving probably has 4 years to figure this out. That's what I think, unless there's like a crazy, oh my God, they fell off a cliff, bad moment. And I don't think that that's going to happen, but I do think we can't look at this team as a finished product anymore because it isn't. The general manager has a different vision for this team than the previous one, which is why you're seeing John Klingberg's come into the lineup, which is why you're seeing things not matching and you don't have a third line center. It does take time. It's like if you were to look at the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, they kind of have to be a finished product because if they're not a finished product now, 3 years from now, none of those guys are playing. Right. So that has to be, and that's unfair to Dubas, but that's kind of the way it's got to be.
Ain't shit unfair. You took the job.
This team with the Leafs, you know what Treliving likes. You know how he wants them to play. And they're not going to be able to do that yet.
I got to say, you know what Brad Treliving is doing incredibly? Making zero expression. Like that dude, he must have gone to some acting school. He knows
Just
the
dead
camera's
face.
on him at all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like every turnover, every goal, he just, nope, I don't want to look happy. I don't want to look sad. I don't want anyone to be able to read my poker face. And he's done an incredible job. But I mean, you can tell literally just by the way the roster is built, this isn't the team they mean to have.
No.
Like
There's change coming, and I think
there's a bunch of placeholders.
I think if you look at some of the teams that are looking to, so I was going to jump into this later, but I'll mention it now. Donnie and Dolly yesterday in Vancouver were saying that Vancouver's already working the phones to try to reward this great start. They want to reinforce the fact that the Canucks have been doing really well. And they found a great D partner for Quinn Hughes and Philip Roenick, and all the great things that are happening in Vancouver right now. The management group wants to do that. The issue they have is they're up against the cap, and
Connor Garland's still out the door.
Well, they're trying to trade him, but nobody can take the money. Mm-hmm. So that's also part of the issue. And I think when you're looking at the Leafs, I think there's going to be some early season trades this year because I do think the Toronto Maple Leafs are one of the teams that needs to make them. I think Vancouver's another one. There's a few teams that they need to make a move now rather than later. So I wouldn't be surprised like a November, December trade with the Leafs, even if it's nothing crazy.
So there's legitimate rumors and then there's Twitter online, hey, this sort of makes some sense rumors.
Well, there's the only one who you can trust on that is Kevin Papetti. He makes good suggestions.
Holy shit.
He's like Nostradamus sometimes. Baseball too.
See, I'm interested to see if he's still Nostradamus now that that dude.
He could predict Dubas. Like he knew Dubas. It's crazy. Like he'd be like, I wonder if Dubas does, and Dubas does exactly that.
Like we're talking about coming down to like draft picks, like league minimum free agents.
Yep.
It was crazy. He should start covering the Pens, honestly. But I'm starting to see people go, oh, you want some snot? You want to get a little better on D? You want to talk to a team that's doing kind of shitty? Has a connection to the current GM?
Calgary Flames.
How do we get Nikita Zadorov? I've seen people talk about that. And the team's been bad enough where I'm like, what about Nikita Zadorov?
You mean the Flames have been bad enough?
No, I mean the Leafs, like on D. But I mean the Flames as well.
Yeah, really.
I don't really know how that helps them, but
the Leafs take on Boston tomorrow. This has got to be a game. If LA wasn't the game you get up and test yourself for, this has to be. Well, it's at home.
They should be fresh as a daisy.
Big bad Bruins. Mm-hmm. What do you need to see?
Listen, I need to see a tight game. I need to see a game where you're able to cross the offensive blue line. And I need to see a game where on D, you're not just improvising. You're not just making it up. And that is probably my biggest concern when it comes to Klingberg. When that dude is, listen, if teams forecheck you hard, if they try, if they skate, if there's an effort, you're going to be forced into uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. And that's when your instincts have to take over. That dude has the most chaotic instincts I think I've ever seen.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
We have some breaking news, and we talked about it, and CJ talked about it, and all that stuff. You remember the Ottawa thing?
Oh, yes.
Ottawa Dadonov trade?
Yes.
So if you missed it, the Ottawa Senators traded Evgeny Dadonov a couple summers ago to the Vegas Golden Knights. He was going into the second year of a 3-year deal that he'd signed in Ottawa. He had no trade protection. I think it was limited to 10 teams. The Ottawa Senators did not forward his no trade protection, and in fact, apparently represented to Vegas that he had never submitted it, which meant that at the trade deadline, Vegas tried to trade him to Anaheim for cap relief to make another deal happen. And the NHL nixed the trade because his agent said, wait a second, I have submitted it. Here's the email.
So it's not a matter of Vegas being negligent or the Senators omitting something. They're being accused of being deliberately dishonest.
Potentially. No, I think it might have been negligence. It might have been negligence, and I think it probably was.
Yeah.
I don't think the NHL, the Senators don't strike me, and Dorian doesn't strike me as a guy who's like, let me get one by on Vegas.
Well,
No,
like,
They did what they believed was the truth.
right.
Okay.
Otherwise, that deal doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the difference is the Senators didn't answer a question that Vegas didn't ask versus the Senators gave Vegas the wrong answer.
And we don't know the answer to that, but I will read you this. The National Hockey League today announced the Ottawa Senators will forfeit a first-round draft pick for their role in the 2021 trade with Dadonov to the Senators and the Golden Knights and the subsequent Ducks trade. Ottawa will forfeit its first-round pick in one of 24, 25, or 26. The determination as to which pick will be forfeited will be made by Ottawa within 24 hours of the conclusion of the draft for that year.
No, read that last line.
Wait.
The determination as to which pick will be forfeited will be made by Ottawa within 24 hours of the conclusion of the draft lottery for that year.
And then what does the league say?
The league will have no further comment.
Which is such bullshit. Like that fucking, when I saw that press release, and Matt, if you want to pull it up on the screen there, I was like, no, you hold the press conference, you answer questions about it.
Tell us what happened.
You can't ding a team a first-round pick and not have an answer for that.
The league does this all the time. They make decisions, and then when people are like, how did you come to that conclusion? We don't comment on it.
Well, and
Like, what?
What's so foolish about that is you have insiders like CJ, Chris Johnston, you have Elliot Friedman, and they'll tell the story if you don't. Tell the story. It's going to get out there, or you're just going to have, well, I heard this,
Yeah.
I heard that. Just tell the story.
This isn't an insignificant thing where there aren't further questions to be asked. This is a situation where the commissioner or Bill Daly or a representative should be up on a podium and you get to ask them a damn question.
This team hasn't made the playoffs in several years. Like that is an enormous deal.
This is
Man,
huge.
if I was
That's an
Andlauer,
enormous deal.
I'd be like, knock $20 million off the price of the Senators.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that, Gary? Also, I want to ask you guys this because this is kind of important. Does the punishment determine what the crime might have been? Because my instant thought with this is,
I know what you're saying.
Dorian had nobody working with him, and he probably, like literally, they were down to a skeleton staff with the Senators, especially over the pandemic. So I'm thinking if it's an honest mistake, getting fined a first round pick seems pretty bonkers.
It was, even if it was an honest mistake, I guess the consequences
Were enormous.
of their actions were enormous. Well,
Yeah.
like I laid it out last show. Vegas gets Dadonov in a situation that they weren't aware of, right? Where they took on
$5 million.
Dadonov, who was making 5 for Nick Holden, who was making something like 1.5. So already they're taking on the more expensive player. If they find out that they weren't able to trade this expensive player, they probably don't even make the deal. So there's millions of dollars right there. Then they tried to trade Dadonov in a move that would help them make the playoffs. They're not allowed to, so they have to continue paying him. So there's even more money right there. Then the team does not make the playoffs. If they pull this move off, would they have made the playoffs? We don't know the answer to that. If the answer is yes, and there is a greater than 0% chance, the answer is yes. There's millions of dollars in home dates that Vegas missed out on in the playoffs. This trade cost Vegas millions and millions of dollars, actual dollars. Forget the cap, money, actual dollars and cents.
So can negligence cost you? Because like a third round pick is worth like $3-4 million sometimes, right? Like so a first round pick could be worth double or triple that. And I'm sure you can make the argument with Vegas that that's what it cost them. It's the $5 million to pay Dadonov. and how many home dates could they have gotten, plus all the merch and all the other.
And I think you should be fined for they're fining the owner for negligence in the way you're running the organization. It's just the unfortunate thing is the person you're fining is moved on. You know, like he's not there. He doesn't own the team. He's dead. He's unfortunately. Dead. You know, like that's who you're fining. You're fining the organization for running it in a way where you don't have the protection of the no trade clause within a filing cabinet or on a USB drive or wherever you store it. You know,
but that's
why I think the crime fits the punishment.
Okay, obviously it serves as a warning to the rest of it.
Get your paperwork together.
Well,
we're talking
Dorian
as
was
much
in charge the whole time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like regardless of who the owner was, it was Dorian.
So yeah, but if we're putting the onus off of Dorian in that he didn't have anybody around on his staff, like then it's an owner issue. Plus, it's
who cares? You gotta get the job done.
So then it's the same kind of determination, negligence amongst the GM. You know, then if it's him, then this is a big punishment, and you should be fined this.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare start to the year for Dorian. He's got a new owner in.
Oh,
and Norris wasn't healthy, even though they thought he was, and then. The Pinto situation. Forget the gambling part of the suspension with Pinto. Just the fact that they didn't have the money to do that. The fact that they had to give away Alex DeBrincat when they probably could have just kept him.
That trade stinks, dude.
The trade stinks. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's not a great start for
Shabbat,
if you're showing your resume to Andlauer to keep your job, and you built this team, and the team is talented. It's not a great start for Dorian, and that's the part where, like, if you're Michael Andlauer, how else do you look at this? Man, I just bought this effing franchise, right? And he was, by all accounts, if you talk to people, he was not the highest bidder by a long shot. Mm-hmm. He's the guy the NHL wanted. If they'd gone with the highest bidder, they would have got $1 billion.
He was in line to get a franchise.
Yeah, he was next in line. And he said, I'll offer you $800 million because that's what it's worth. And the reason that the process apparently took so long is it took Gary a long time to get him to cough up the extra $100 million to get to 9. That's what it was.
The extra $100 million.
Well, right. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about billionaires. The point is,
what a life.
Now, and if I'm Andlauer, I'm on the phone to Bettman today going, what the fuck, dude? You just sold me down the river. You just made me cough up this much money.
I am willing to bet Michael Andlauer at least had some knowledge of this.
I hope he did.
Yeah. And like maybe that's why. I mean, let's say so. He understands how the sausage is made a little bit.
Yep.
Because he's been an owner in this league. I wonder if the other parties heard about some of these things and were like, "Dude, what the fuck am I buying?"
Yeah.
What do you? I got to do this and I got to do that. I got to do that.
Am I going to lose a pick?
Like. Whenever, I mean, if you get a deal on a house, your first question is, what's wrong with it? And you start knocking on the walls and you start, there's some issues with this house that need to be fixed. And maybe part of the reason, like maybe Andlauer, because he was part owner of the Habs, is a fantastic owner for the Sens because that's a team who has faced a ton of issues, is facing a ton of issues, and perhaps will face a ton of issues in the future. And he's got to be willing to deal with them all. And maybe out of all the ownership groups, he was most willing.
This trade happened in 2022. And one of the first questions I would ask the league is, when did this investigation begin and why did it take so long?
The Dadonov one?
Yeah.
There was Nick's. Well, so...
And that's why the no further comment at the time is so egregious.
Vegas acquiring him happened in 2021.
Yeah. The actual... Yeah, but they didn't know that the trade protection thing happened until 2022, right?
Right. And I mean, I don't know who his agent is.
I forget his name.
You probably... I don't... Like, do you even ask the question? I guess all this is... that Jeff Foxworthy bit where he talks about... that like on Preparation H, it says, do not eat this.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or do not use orally or whatever. And the reason it says that is one time someone tried to do it. Oh, well, what kind of an idiot? Well, obviously someone, so you got to write it down. I'm butchering the bit. But like now, I guess if you're an agent, you have to have this conversation every single time and be like, Did you make sure to check over this paperwork? Did you check over that paperwork? Or actually, it's not even the agent's
not on the agent.
responsibility.
No.
It's the GM.
Yeah.
Yep. And the agent, Maxime Oliver, unless it's like French, Maxime Moliver, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar.
They did their work. Like, they submitted the paperwork. So,
Wait, do they have 3 clients?
according to Puckpedia, yeah.
And one of them is Igor Shesterkin.
So you only need 3.
Holy shit.
You'll be all right. Yeah. Pretty wild. I want to know more, and I'm sure insiders will have more. Yeah. Like, I would bet Ian Mendez comes out with an article today going, okay, here's what happened.
CJ show on Thursday.
Thank you.
Be a lot of good info.
Yeah, they were. It was good. So anyway, that's
first round
that's
pick.
The story. You know, the fall's always a grind. And one of the things that kind of gets you through is your routine. And if your routine is good, then you should be able to kind of make it through. Because there's a lot going on. Obviously, you know, there's the back to school thing, there's Thanksgiving, there's Halloween, depends on what side of the border you're at, which order that comes in. And then, of course, you know, the big holiday at the end of it. What
is that?
Some of us call it Christmas. I don't know if you've heard of it.
The Feast of St. Stephen.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
And, you know, so there's a lot. So one of the things that we highly recommend, Jesse specifically, is AG1.
Yes.
And it keeps you fired up. Make sure you get all your vitamins, even when you're crazy busy. And Jesse works literally all the time.
Yeah, no, that's such a key point. I think that's very important to illustrate this point. It's like, it's an easy way to stay on top of this aspect of your health. It's just, you take this every morning. It's simple. You do it without thinking. And every day, you know you're getting all of the vitamins and nutrients that you need.
And AG1 helps you build your health foundation first. It's science-driven formula with vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients. Probiotics, you know what that means. Regularity. That's right.
I was like, not antibiotic.
It's a comprehensive solution, and if it's what you need with your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/SDP. That's drinkag1.com/SDP. Check it out. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp.
Hey.
It is that time of year where things get a little bit hard. It's a bit of a grind. I know in Toronto, it's been kind of rainy and cold all of a sudden. We had a really nice September, and then we didn't.
It's a dark autumn.
It is. And that's the thing, is that the days are getting shorter. The time is going to change soon because we still do that. And you might find yourself needing somebody to talk to. BetterHelp might be a great option for you. You can talk to somebody on the phone. You can talk to somebody on video chat. You can talk to somebody just on text message. And with BetterHelp, you get matched within 48 hours, which is a lot faster. And frankly, it's a lot more cost effective than a lot of the other ways that you can find therapy. It's one of those things that, you know, we all believe in very much in therapy, regular therapy. And BetterHelp's a great way to get it.
Especially in autumn.
Exactly. So, if you'd like to try BetterHelp in the autumn, BetterHelp.com/SDP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SDP. I did want to mention, and I was going to get to this in our Leaf segment, but Auston Matthews this morning announced that he has signed with KSI and Logan Paul and Prime Energy Drink.
Yeah.
I'm past the energy drink stage in my life.
Oh my God, I never had it.
I remember in my youth, I was an overnight guy in Halifax, and Red Bull used to the Red Bull street team, which was mostly women, would stop by, they would drop off your normal Red Bull and then your sugar-free Red Bull, and we had a Red Bull fridge in the thing, and all the jocks just drank free Red Bull all the time. So we were literally on, like, our hair was on fire all the time on the air.
Vibrating.
And I would be like, they were the ones calling me for like requests on the street. They'd be like, look, we can get your song played or whatever they would call. And so that was the last time I drank energy drinks with any regularity. I was 21, but apparently this stuff will just fire you right up.
I've had 20 or 30 energy drinks my entire life, I think. Like, Jesse, do I strike you as the kind of person who needs more caffeine?
No, I've never tried Prime. And there's 2 kinds of Prime. There's the energy drink one, the hydration one. So like, one's like for refueling. And I assume that's the one that Austin is going to be pushing a little bit more. And then there's the energy drink one, which is illegal in Canada. Like, it's been banned because of the caffeine content.
Oh, because they were selling it here.
So a lot of places still do. Like, if you go to convenience stores, you can find the energy drink version, but it's supposed to be outlawed in Canada. But a lot of convenience stores still sell it.
Because there's too much caffeine?
Yeah, based on like the milliliters of the actual bottle.
Dude, I don't know when that started, but like companies will have products literally called like Day Fucker Upper, and it's like it's got the equivalent of 20 cups of espresso.
I used to live next to a convenience store that would just have everything from the States, like any kind of candy, any kind of like pop, anything you want, you can get.
Nice.
It was.
Did they have Jolt Cola? You ever had
want
Jolt?
to.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
You ever? Yeah, man. You ever want to see kids go nuts? Give them some Jolt Cola. Holy shit! I remember being a teenager. We drink like Jolt Cola before a hockey game. It just the whole time, and then you're exhausted afterwards.
Like that is like, you know, when you're older and you're telling Everly that story, it's going to be the equivalent of like hearing Grandpa talk about like an opium den.
I know. I know. Wait, so they sold that to kids?
Yeah, but except the difference between now and the past is good. But they said what was in it.
Yeah.
Like it was label. It was on the label.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and you drank it.
Yeah, it's like when Coca-Cola used to have. Didn't it start out with like illicit drugs in it? Or
Yeah, you used to have cocaine in
They used to have
Coca-Cola.
cocaine in it because it was like a doctor's thing, right?
Yeah. There's be small amounts of cocaine in Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and it's
why-
funny because it
is that
says
why it has
cocaine
Coke?
on the label on the
Yeah.
old ones, right?
9 out of 10 doctors recommend this. The 10th is dead.
Wasn't Dr. Pepper considered medicinal in like the late 1800s too?
It is.
Like, it is. Listen, I love a
it's
good
not.
Dr. Pepper.
It is.
One day we're gonna have to do like I would love to know what kind of like sodas you guys drank because I don't drink it anymore. But
Yeah, I don't remember last time I had pop.
I love a good Dr. Pepper. Love a Pepsi. Still don't drink any of it, but
Not a big pop guy.
not a big pop guy. Ever? Root beer? Did you ever drink
Well,
a
I
dad's
like
root
a
beer?
root beer.
Yeah, Jesse, dad's root beer.
Yeah, growing up, I drank a lot of pop. Like I loved Fanta growing up.
Oh!
Fabulous. Yeah, Chubbies. That's
So good.
That's good stuff.
So good.
But yeah, the energy drink thing, like I had energy drinks in high school, and obviously, thinking back, like it's crazy that like this stuff, like Logan Paul, he markets it to kids, you know, and they have like hundreds of milligrams of caffeine. A 17-year-old just chugging this stuff. It's so dangerous. It's crazy.
Yeah. Maddie, have you ever had Prime?
Have I ever had it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the designated Gen
No.
Z in the room. No.
Yeah, Gen Z who has not had Prime. We found them.
Oh,
Red Bull,
yes,
yeah.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
Everybody's had a vodka Red Bull at the bar.
Oh yeah.
Everybody.
Jaeger bomb.
Oh, bleh. Oh
Well,
my God.
You don't have it because you're like, I
Yeah.
think I'm going to wet my
You're
whistle
talking
with a
about-
Jaeger bomb.
Jaeger bombs are.
You don't treat it like whiskey.
Yeah. You have that because you're like, I want to stumble, but fast.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hey, I want to mention this because we're gonna we're bringing Jomboy, the Jomboy.
Jimmy.
He's gonna be on in about half an hour. In the meantime, I want to talk about this. There has been some serious fallout from the Heritage Classic loss, especially for the Calgary Flames. Only for the Calgary Flames.
Is
I was
everybody
about
home?
to say, Edmonton won, so they're fine.
Did everybody get home? Or are they still trying to
I think
beat
they're probably
Commonwealth?
still in traffic in Edmonton.
Uh,
They're on the Anthony Henday.
You, Adam, got a lot of people commenting about the bathrooms at what's the place?
Tim
in
Hortons
Hamilton?
Field.
Tim Hortons Field. There was a lot of comments on Discord and on Twitter.
Were they
people
bad?
Agreeing with you about the
thank
bathrooms.
you. Really?
They are a thing.
Okay, what the fuck, man?
are a thing.
Yo, City of Hamilton, get it together with your bathroom regulations. And I don't care that the field's built. Build some bathrooms.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? It's honestly, you'd be better to just pee off the side of the building. It's an outdoor stadium. Just
Get
pee
an
off the side.
army of porta potties. Like, do whatever you
It's
gotta do.
outrageous. And by the way, the NHL should have, whenever they do a game, a minimum of bathrooms, an absolute minimum per 100 people. Like, I don't know why the NHL doesn't do that. It really was. It ruined the game. I didn't see any of the second period.
It's any new building being built. Like, if you're a crazy Scrooge McDuck money owner, you should be like, all right, what's the minimum requirement of bathrooms? Okay, we're doubling that.
Jesse.
So these are the two comments I saw in the SDP Podcast Talk channel on our Discord. Go to sdpn.ca to join the SDPN Discord. Whit Scott said, I used to work at Tim Hortons Field on Forge FC and Tycat game nights. I can confirm that the bathroom situation there is wild.
Thank you.
And then So Good Coffee said, I was at the Canadian Premier League final on Saturday at Tim Hortons Field. There's just not many bathrooms in general.
That's
Yeah.
outrageous. That's absolutely unacceptable.
How do you build
I'll
a
never
stadium without bathrooms?
If they do another Leafs outdoor game, they're fuck off. I'm not going. I have to pee at least once every 3 hours because I'm a person that drinks things and I don't want to hold it like I'm 12. Okay? I want to take a leak, and I want to go sit in my chair that I spent $300 on. For fuck's sakes.
You know what? Here, wait. I'm going to solve the whole issue.
Tell me.
Have like a Paw Patrol potty in the seat.
Love that.
You lift the lid up.
Ew.
Just go right in the seat.
Yeah.
No.
That's disgusting.
That's
What's wrong with that?
That's what the kings of Europe used to do. They wouldn't get off the throne, and they would. That's why they call it a throne. They'd have like a little hole, and they'd go.
Remember Ricky's dad from Trailer Park Boys with the piss jug?
Yeah. Yes.
You just go right in your seat. That's one of the funniest bits.
Justin Fisher just texted me from the other room. He's listening to our show. He said prime hydration is regrettably really fucking good. Is what he said.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he says it's delicious.
Maybe we need to try some Prime.
Maybe we do.
I'm not selling my soul though.
Fallout for
Wait,
the
how much is Matt? Holy fuck! They can afford Matthews.
They got money.
Soul just,
Heritage.
The price of the soul just went down.
By the way, I think we've determined that. Listen, the best player is McDavid. The face of hockey in the States is Auston Matthews.
It's Matthews.
End of story. End of story.
Yeah.
The Heritage Classic. Serious fallout for the Calgary Flames. So here's the interesting part. I love this. As somebody who puts together the show, it's one of the fun things about not being an insider and just trying to dissect this is trying to understand where the truth lies. I'm going to give you a little whodunit here. All right. Tuesday, we had a report during the Leaf game from Darren Dreger that Noah Hannafin had paused contract talks with the Calgary Flames, which, if you remember previously, the previous week, Friedge is like, they made some headway. This deal's looking really good. He didn't say it was going to happen, but he said they'd made some serious headway, which means when they say serious headway, it means we know what money he's going to make.
The sequence of events seem to be, I prefer to be traded. Never mind, I'm open to staying. All right, let's talk contract. Let's pause everything.
Yes. And it was important, and I think this is an important detail. It was framed in a way that Hannafin had stopped this.
Interesting.
Okay. Now, last night, Eric Francis reported that the Flames had paused contracts with Hannafin and Lindholm, saying that the Flames wanted to see, for their long-term planning, whether or not these are guys that they want to trade and get assets back for and build around guys like Coronado and Peltier and Dustin Wolf and those guys, or if they're guys that, maybe this team actually is good and, we want to continue on with it. So I think what's fascinating here, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school, is that Eric Francis is very connected with Calgary ownership. Very connected. If there's anybody that you want to know what Calgary ownership's thinking, Eric Francis is the guy to go to. If you want to know what the agents are thinking, Darren Dreger, I find, is a guy who's very plugged in with the agents. Now, that could come for both guys. It could come with bad and good, but I think sometimes when you're going after different sources and you're trying to read stories, it's important to understand who's got what.
Right.
And whether or not you agree with it or journalistic standards, whatever. This is fucking sports. Relax. And I think it's really interesting that both sides of the Hannafin deal and Lindholm are saying we stopped the negotiation. And then it comes down to this, guys. Who's got more to lose here?
Well,
so because somebody's lying. Somebody's not telling the truth.
Well, no, they could both be telling the truth.
No.
No?
They're not.
Maybe they're both lying.
The answer is both. One side says we stopped it. The other side says we stopped it. It's not we both broke up.
Right.
It's somebody stopped it. Somebody said we're not going to continue this conversation. Now, when I look at this, what I see, and again, I don't fault either journalist here. It's not about that. I look at the Flames organization and I go, well, if I was Marie Edwards and I was Craig Conroy and I was whoever runs that team, I'd be like, yeah, we stopped it. Because
leverage.
If I am going to trade these guys, I don't want to be the guy that was rejected. It's also not great player currency, because if players around the league who are free agents find out why Noah Hannafin, who's a young guy and probably well connected within the hockey community as well, hey, Noah doesn't want to re-sign there, I probably won't either.
And there would be incentive for him to get out of there because, dude, I'm in a contract year and things are going really poorly. I'm spending money every day I stay on this roster.
Right. Now, I think him and Lindholm are going to get paid. Lindholm's not played great.
Well, we're talking
great.
The difference. Like, we were talking about Lindholm making like 9.
Mm-hmm.
That ship sailed. Like,
until it hasn't.
Well, if he makes it to like June or something, like, and then, you know, he has his pick of the litter,
Yeah.
right? Then maybe it hasn't.
And he'll be 29 years old and a free agent center.
Oh, man. Well,
He's going to get paid, guys.
but again, 32 teams. Like, someone is going to be like, all right, this is what it's going to cost to get it done. Let's make
I
it.
need a number one center.
But
Or I need a 1A or a 1B.
you're going to give, like, how many points does he have?
6 and 9 games.
Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Like, it's not.
Well, he's the only one on the team that can put up points, but you know, he had a 42 goal year 2 years ago, as we all know, and then at 22 last year, but 64 points in 80 games last year. He before that had never scored over. Well, he had 178 point year, and then with the but so it was like 78 in 18-19, and then 54, 47, 82, 64.
Both of those players are spending money staying on the Calgary Flames.
So you think? I think for that reason that it was for sure the players, specifically Noah Hanifin, that paused the negotiation, and the Flames need it not to look like that.
They were open to it, and they said, nope, get me out of here.
That can still change, though.
It could.
If I'm the Flames, I don't want Noah Hanifin.
Well, like, okay, it's not,
Why?
It's not necessarily the players bad, right?
No, isn't working. Like nobody.
This
I'm not
group-
saying Noah Hanifin's a bad player. I'm saying Elias Lindholm, Noah Hanifin, the two big UFAs. I don't want them anymore because this group doesn't work. We saw this collection of Huberdeau, Kadri, Lindholm, Uyghur, Hanifin. We've seen them on the ice for 2 seasons now, and it doesn't work.
Okay, but
Time to move on.
They have 2D signed past this season, not a single RFA among them.
of those guys, though, Jesse, Huberdeau is the one that's been not Huberdeau. Lindholm is the one that's been scoring. Right? Like Huberdeau has a point less than he does, but Kadri's got 2 points in 9 games. Like, I think if you were to look at it, you'd be like, well, Lindholm works. Kadri and Huberdeau maybe don't. Maybe there's not a fit here.
You can't move those guys. Yeah. It's impossible.
Kadri, I feel like it's a
you have
long contract.
You have to move the pieces on the chessboard that are eligible to be moved. And that is getting rid of Lindholm and getting rid of Hanifin and restarting this whole thing because the collection of guys here you have isn't working.
God, that's so many no move clauses.
Yeah.
I wonder, I've always wondered, because aren't the Columbus Blue Jackets still trying to make Patrick Laine a centerman?
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted a quick fix, wouldn't talking to them about, because they need a finisher on the Flames, wouldn't talking to them?
I don't know.
You're talking about getting Laine on the Flame?
Yeah. Wouldn't that?
Oh.
Yeah, but why are they giving up Laine?
Because they stink and because there could be a different player coming their way. Like, listen, if you're trying, okay, so Calgary needs a finisher and Columbus needs a center.
Columbus is in the rebuilding part of their rebuild. Like we always go, oh, it's a rebuild when the team is actively debuilding. No, this is the tear down. The Blue Jackets aren't doing that anymore. They're trying to build up. They got a long way to go. Mm-hmm. They're right there at the bottom.
Laine's only played 4 games this year too, so maybe they wouldn't be.
Yeah, because of Rasmus.
I'm just trying to make something happen here. They need a finisher on that team. They need somebody.
You're trying to make him teammates with Rasmus Anderson?
Yeah.
You piece of garbage.
I know, it's pretty bad.
You're garbage.
He's 1 goal shy of 200 career goals, is Patrick Laine. It is really interesting to me, those 2 reports coming out in consecutive days. It's like, no, we said it. No, we said it. And really, I think everybody knows where this is going. If the Flames can't turn this around right now, the next 15 games are key.
They have so little time.
100, they really don't, right? So then
Context matters, right?
And you got to build around Wolf, Peltier, and Coronado at that point, don't you?
Okay, I think Wolf is a crazy good goaltender. Like Coronado, Peltier, like that's.
I'm just saying they're top 3 prospects. I'm sure you need to add to that.
Well, yeah, like expecting Coronado, Peltier to be like what you build around, like a core that you build. No. That's like the Leafs gotta tear it all down and rebuild around like Nyes and
well, the Leafs don't really have
and
much.
Robertson.
Robertson.
Yeah, and Gregor.
Yeah, no,
Gregor.
How dare you? No, but like
Holmberg.
are Nyes
Holmberg.
are Nyes and Robertson good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you build an entire friggin' team around them? No. And okay, we'll add Wool to that. Wool and Wolf. And you go, all right, it looks a little better, but damn.
You don't have a team on the horizon. Like
Right.
This isn't Matthews, Marner, and Willie.
Guys you build like Fantilli.
Sure. Yeah. Logan Cooley.
Logan Cooley.
Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard.
Uri Slavkovsky.
there
you
you
know,
Yeah.
sometimes,
David Reinbacher.
hey,
You're just being mean.
hey.
Alex
dare you.
Romanoff.
Ooh.
Listen, there's been a lot of next great things in Montreal. Okay, I'm allowed to say it. David Dayard.
We're allowed to be salty. towards that.
Yeah, but here, okay. So here's what you have though. You've got Hanifin, Tanev, Zadorov. I guess Osterley and Gilbert, who are their depth options. Those are all guys that can get you some legitimate stuff. They, if you wait till the trade deadline or midway through the season,
They're primed for a teardown.
that's what I'm saying. Like, and they've got the new arena coming in 3 years. So take the time, retool, and be a Stanley Cup contender when that new arena kicks in.
I don't know if that happens that quickly.
You don't think they could turn around? Because you're still going to have Huberdeau and Kadri. You may not have Kadri. You're going to have Huberdeau.
I don't know if they can build the Stanley Cup contender in 3 years with what they got. This might be a long rebuild in Calgary. It's depressing.
You know how they say judge a GM based on the state he left his team in?
Did they say that?
No, because every GM would be terrible except for Dubas, who was fired for political reasons. Every GM that gets fired other than that is a bad GM.
You don't get fired when you have a good team.
Yeah, no. Nobody fires a good GM when the team's good except for Toronto. Because it was a power play, right? Dubas wanted power. Shanny said no. So
I'm just saying that as a
I don't think people should say that. If they are saying that, if that's a saying, stop saying it.
like context matters. And we earlier in the show we were talking about the Leafs. They played a really bad game in Game 9, but it's Game 9 and whatever. The Flames are coming off like a catastrophic year. Like you go from one of the best teams in the league to you don't even make the playoffs, and you have like one of the top 5 worst back halves of any team in the league. And where in a year where teams were very deliberately trying to be bad, you were just as bad as all of them for the back half of the season. You start the season, and like even in our season preview videos, we're like, you know what?
They have talent.
It's a one-off. They have talent.
Except for
They're
me,
going to come back.
who did not believe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like the Oilers having a bad start was, that's weird. Oh, well, bet they come out of it. And they've only won one game, right? So they still have some work to do there. But generally, we have faith they'll come out of it.
Sure.
Yes, they're the Oilers. Yeah.
Flames, they look just as bad as they ever were. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And like, just wait till we get some youth on the right. Well, there's your Coronado.
New head coach. Just wait.
New head coach.
Just wait till our goaltending's good.
Yeah.
He's not been bad.
No, it was the goalie. No, it was the head coach. No, we need the young player. No, maybe it's just a collection of guys.
Yeah. And it probably was all those things, but also.
And your number one off-ice problem is trying to re-sign the group that isn't working? No, that doesn't make sense. You need to make some tough decisions here.
Adam Wilde, never call me a bad GM ever again, as you tried to reunite Rasmus Andersson and Patrick Laine, as Andersson is still actively suspended for hurting Patrick Laine.
Corey
You
Perry,
hunk of garbage.
Corey Perry and Nick Foligno are on the same team.
They sure are.
And they fought after the Tavares thing. You can put things aside.
You can.
Didn't McDavid get beamed by somebody and then that person became their teammate? Wasn't it a defenseman?
Yes, I can't remember his name.
And he was like a depth defenseman, and Holland called him and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" It wasn't. He was from Chicago, and the Leafs were apparently in on this guy too. Philly?
He had a brother who played. I think he's from the WHL. Oh, I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
I do.
All right.
And he wasn't great.
No, and I feel like there's hard feelings there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Well, that just goes to show who came out on the better end of that.
I want to hit this before we go. There's other things that we want to hit. But Charlie McAvoy suspended 4 games, which kind of is the league setting its own standard for hits to the head.
It's funny.
Question
I
mark?
saw some people go, listen, that's a vicious hit. That's a chicken shit hit.
Charlie McAvoy. Bruins fans got on me because I said Charlie McAvoy in the playoffs against the Leafs was like dirty, and they're like, he's not fucking dirty.
It's a compliment. What
Yeah,
He was so far away from the play.
And Charlie McAvoy does this shit. Has done this shit before. I'm not crazy.
He clipped Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who was the puck anywhere near him?
No,
it's a bad hit. You could put it this way: there are reasons why it's not as bad as Anderson on Laine. There are reasons why it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were saying 4 games isn't enough. Listen, there was not a suspension longer than 3 games all of last season. We've already had 2 in the first 3 weeks of the season. So to me, this is consistency from the NHL, and it's stiffer penalties for deliberate. I mean, those are 2 deliberate attempts to injure a player.
Yes.
Right? Anderson was trying to get his pound of flesh before the end of the game. And yes, Laine was eligible to be hit. No one is eligible to be hit like that. Ekman-Larsson wasn't eligible to be hit, and you clipped him right in the head.
I didn't understand.
They're too. Well, he wanted to get his pound of flesh.
What?
Were they losing?
No, they won that game. I don't know at the time. I forget the score.
I don't even
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It actually
maybe
doesn't
they got
matter.
into it earlier in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that is a great point, Adam.
It's just not a hit that would matter.
Yeah,
or affects the play of the game. The only thing it affects is Oliver Ekman-Larsson's health.
He's sitting 4 games because he should.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of time. I do have to move on. So I do have one more thing I want to hit.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up with, there have been a lot of suspensions and fines this year from really nasty hits that went on to injure players, and all of these players are going to be out longer than the suspension.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ekman-Larsson's status.
Yeah, but you can't do eye for an eye with justice. You just can't.
I
One quick thing. Rob Rossi and Chris Johnson for The Athletic did a great article on the protection of neck and in the NHL, and how since the tragic passing of Adam Johnson, how certain teams are and players are taking a really noticeable look at this. But what stood out to me was there are 4 teams apparently taking the lead. And this is what fucking blows my mind about NHL players, because as I told you last episode, goalies will put on anything, and if they even get a slight bruise, they're like, "Oh, I need more pads," which I get because they're having shit thrown at them.
I'm not stepping in front of those
players.
Shots.
Players step in front of those shots, and they're like, "Don't give me anything to protect me. Fuck off." And
here, could I have the thinnest piece of plastic imaginable?
I know it's the weirdest.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, and I feel like we need to talk more about it, but we don't have the time because Jomboy's coming on and it's scheduled. But here's the line that blew my freaking head off.
Oh, I know.
The Penguins, the Bruins, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Washington Capitals have already started the process of implementing optional neck protection for players.
Okay.
Was it not optional before?
Is it that they're encouraging them, I guess?
The Penguins, the Bruins, the Hurricanes, the Capitals have already started the process of implementing optional neck protection for players. I wore a neck guard in House League, Select, Single A. My friends were much better, more in Double A, Triple A. I had friends in Major Junior. I had friends in the OHL. They all had to wear neck protection. I watched Connor Bedard play with neck protection for Team Canada. At what point in the NHL was neck protection not optional?
This is how it works.
What I'm saying is, if you're saying these franchises are taking the lead, what have they done? It was always optional. The option is there.
I got a really interesting tweet, and it wasn't hostile, from Jay Rosehill, because I asked the question on Twitter earnestly. I wasn't like, "Hey, give me your stupid fucking opinions about whether or not the incident was intentional." The question was, if you don't wear neck protection, how come? Like, I'm just trying to get into the psyche of it. And Rosehill was like, well, for the same reason that you didn't ask that question 2 weeks ago. It never happens.
But it has.
Well, but extraordinarily rarely. It's a valid answer. I'm not going to judge him for it. I'm here to understand. Like, you need to understand why players think this way in order to get them to wear the shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I guess to that, I would ask, how many slap shots have you ever taken to the nuts?
None. Thank God.
None. What's the cup for? Get it off. What are you, wuss?
Well, apparently I got a DM saying a lot of pro players don't wear a cup.
Pro?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's true, so that's why I'm like,
Who told you that?
Somebody that would know.
That's psychotic.
I'm not just talking NHL. There's pro everything, right? Dude, they're hockey players. Sanity is a movable line, I think, when we come to this, right? Like, it is a crazy sport when you derail it down. But I think that's a question I would ask Jay.
Going up right now.
I would ask Jay, like, because he seems like a pretty affable guy. Like,
oh, Rosehill.
Yeah, ask him. See, like, did you like how many people? Like, and I don't mean this on publicly or whatever. I could text Frankie Corrado and ask him how many people wore a cup. I don't know.
You're telling me there's people going out there and playing professional hockey without a cup?
Yeah, Steve. I don't think it's that hard to believe.
That. Like, okay.
Ryan Reeves doesn't wear a visor. Ryan O'Reilly doesn't wear a visor.
And that's okay, so you say that, that's every bit as crazy.
Yeah.
So
easily.
When it comes to a player getting injured out there, at some point, and you watch, this will become an insurance company issue. A player's going to take a slap shot to the forehead, and it's going to fracture whatever your forehead bone is. And, let's say a contract is insured. The company is going to be like, were they wearing face protection?
No, because it's optional for that person to not to.
Right. And what these big, powerful insurance companies are going to argue is that's insane.
It should be mandatory so that we do not hold the liability for these things.
Right. And it's going to get legalese, right? And is it reasonable if I am insuring this contract as an insurance company, is it reasonable that you would wear face protection? Is it reasonable that you would wear a cup for someone's going to go... The National Hockey League has had players rupture testicles.
Okay, here we go. And then we got to wrap.
Okay.
Frankie got back to me.
Okay.
Holy shit,
text
already?
from Frank, okay,
Yeah.
who is a great guy, just a beauty. He's like, yeah, there definitely might be one or two on any given team that don't, but pretty much everyone does.
That's the craziest thing.
But still, one or two is a lot.
I don't feel like that's hard to believe. We got to think about who we're talking about here. NHL players.
Like, people have ruptured, like Blake Wheeler ruptured a testicle last year, and I'm pretty sure, didn't Mike Richter lose one?
I don't know.
I also have to. I have to get Jomboy on.
Adam's gotta go.
That is the.
We gotta get him on.
It's going to become an enormous.
We got to get Jimmy on. Hey, I know you want to protect your Jimmy, but we got to bring Jimmy on the air.
Hey, your dick.
All right, now Steve has not stopped talking about this tournament.
No.
He's been giddy about it. Jesse's excited, but Steve, giddy. Can't stop, won't stop. And welcoming on the guy who actually created and put it on, it's Jomboy for the first time on FTP. What's going on, man?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited about Steve's excitement. I just right off the start, I appreciate that and the videos you guys have been doing. I'm loving it. It's kind of like, we're reading a good comment section about a video you put out and you kind of get stuck in it and refreshing it. Like, on a large scale, your guys' chatter is that for me. It's like, oh, this is awesome. They are loving what we're doing and we're part of it and all that. So I've been hooked. I appreciate it.
Well, that's because we don't have a comment section. We have a compliment section.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's what we call it.
Yes, that's how that works.
We only get compliments like "F you, dude, you suck."
Yeah. And also, you're fat. I'm glad your dog died. And things of that nature.
So go ahead, guys.
Well, I was going to say, now we're taking on each other. And it's a big deal that we're taking on each other in the semifinal.
The whole time I was like, I want to play McFlurry. Not out of disrespect. I knew it'd be a tough task, but you guys played a nice slow game, and we needed that so bad.
That's true. We were methodical. And can you explain for the audience the history between you and McFlurry Power? Because I know there was a little bit of conflict there with you and K-Mac.
Yeah, that was funny. I wonder how much did you knew about that? But for those,
I knew about it.
McFlurry Power's been in. They were a team, and K-Mac was a team. Blitzball Battle 1, and if you go look at the footage there, it's like, GoPros and SD cards and small cameras, and really, really different than what it's become now. But he's been around since the very first tournament we've had. This was McFlurry's first tournament that wasn't Blitzball. They've been invited to everything, but he's been busy. And last Blitzball Battle 3 was the first time we did one of these franchise tournaments where a team didn't make the postseason. They got eliminated. Thinking it would like make the drama better, and it 100% made the drama better, but we didn't really like how it felt. And Jake and I were pitching. We were playing against a different team. If we gave up a home run, we were going to get eliminated because of run differential. And if we gave up one run, we would lose the game, but move on to the postseason. And by doing that, McFlurry would get eliminated. I would say go watch that game. It's the 8th game of Blitzball Battle 1. If you like drama, like it's not even sports. Our editors did such a good job because it's really just reality TV for 5-7 minutes because we're mic'd up in that league. The players are mic'd up. So you hear Jake and I talking like, what are we going to do? Do you want to do it? Are we going to throw this? Are you trying? Are you not trying? And then the whole crowd, and they have a shot of K-Mac standing on the bleachers, like just at one point, they didn't put this in the edit. At one point, K-Mac yelled to us, do what you got to do. And because of that, we did it. But yeah, we threw the game and they got eliminated.
So I got to ask you this, because this is like from the outside looking in, because I didn't get down for the tournament. The what you guys are doing is like living out anybody's childhood dream, right? Like
yes.
this the Warehouse games are incredible. They're dramatic. They're exciting. They're also really well shot and really well. Like the commentary is amazing. Chris Rose does such a great job. But I want to ask you started this podcast in 2017. Could you have ever thought in your wildest dreams, like, does floorball, does having a Warehouse Games thing, does that even enter into the conversation at that point? Was this something you always wanted to do? Or was this something where you're like, later on, you're like, man, this is going really well. Let's do some more.
Well, no, I mean, it was never part of like the plan. We started talking Yanks and then that started growing and the breakdown video started growing. We started talking baseball, and then we got, the quick version. We got a sponsorship deal from Blitzball. They make the ball to go shoot a video in Denver for the All-Star game with some Blitzball players. And Jake and I are like, let's not embarrass ourselves. Let's play in the alley because we've never thrown this ball. So then we filmed, just at bats where I was pitching to him and he was pitching to me. And we filmed two cameras and posted them. And they did really well. And we got to go outside and not be stuck in our chair and our microphone. So we're like, let's keep doing this. So we did back alley at bats in the alley of our Bronx, basically apartment.
Right.
And then we got kicked out of the alley. They like, you cannot play this anymore. Like it's dangerous. And it turned into like a 6-camera shoot. So we took it on the road and we went and like played at Todd Frazier's house. That's where we met Nikki Cass. We played at the Yankees high A minor league team. That's where we met K-Mac. We played in all these different places where we met all these different people. And it was like, this production stinks. Like this is too many cameras. We're driving an hour to play. And, we still have 20 podcast episodes that we record each week. So like, let's find a facility. We're like, if we can find a warehouse, we could just keep doing it there and grow it into other sports and stuff. So that's how it happened. And then I took my first paternity leave and all I could do was think, which is like a dangerous thing. And I was like, well, let's have a tournament where we invite everyone we've played with along the way. So Nikki Cass and We Got Ice and K-Mac and Vinny and all these players. And let's invite them back for a tournament, everyone that our audience has already seen us play against. So that was Blitzball Battle 1. And then from there, it was like, let's keep going. So I wanted to do hockey because the barrier of entry is a little easier because throwing a blitzball is impossible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do street hockey because you got to buy all the goalie equipment. It's kind of like a hard ball. And if you're playing with real hockey sticks, a hockey player has such an advantage. So I was just scouring floorball or like street hockey versions. And I came across floorball, which is basically wiffle ball hockey.
Mhm.
So it's perfect. And that's how we got there. But no,
Wow.
never saw it. It just kind of keeps happening and happening. But I have been doing this forever. Like if you walk in the warehouse, you'll see my backyard when I was a kid, and me and my brother would play, and I'd have 5 cameras because I was always a videographer and editor, and I'd edit them, and just me and him would watch them, and it'd be a full 5 camera.
Wow.
Of me and my brother playing in the backyard.
Oh, I love that.
Wow. I don't think people who aren't like the biggest fans of you guys, like people on our network, they don't realize the community that you have there. And it's very similar to ours, where it's a large collection of people who are really big fans of this niche thing. And if they haven't checked out the Warehouse Games, like what can they expect from just the crowd and the audience participation, the people who are really passionate about the Warehouse Games?
It's a show. It's like a show and competitive. I always try to explain it as it's a like backyard family football game with your cousins and your brothers, where you want to beat your cousins and your brothers in football. So you really want to win, but at the end of the day, like you're still going to joke and be friendly afterwards. That's like kind of the energy. It's a very fine line. We actually hire a ton of people. Like most of our people we've hired we played with them first to be like, can you be competitive, want to win, and not be an asshole and still be entertaining? It's very hard to do.
Fine line.
Yeah. So, and then it's just, I mean, Chris Rose is amazing. All the humor comes from him, or majority of it comes from him on the broadcast. And, it's like when you watch Mighty Ducks and you're like, why do they have an announcer and like this raucous fans for this, Pee Wee Juniors championship? Like, this is not what I did. That's what I think people who see clips on the outset, they just go, what the hell is this? Why are they in full uniform and there's an announcer for this dumb game in a warehouse?
I didn't think it was dumb.
No, Steve has been, man, Jimmy, you got to understand, Steve has been like talking about this ever since he came home. He can't stop.
Well,
and he's like, he has talked about, can we talk about the big, there's like a big moment for you. Are we allowed to talk about that yet? Where
your goal?
What,
yeah,
the goal?
We can talk about the goal.
So that's already aired.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that aired. Steve has talked about the goal no less than 20 times. And like, I see him 3 times a week. It's all the time. Well, and he likes to break it down. Like,
I almost took the ball.
Yeah.
it's literally like sitting around the table with your family and they're talking about that one fish they caught one time that was really big. That's his goal. This is his Stanley Cup. You got to understand that.
I love it. Hey, we always joke because when we do baseball, my sister thinks it's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But like Nikki Cass and our other guy, Kenobi over there. And I was like, hey, Court, ask them who they called on their drive home from the warehouse yesterday. And she was like, what? And I said, ask both of them. Just say, hey, who'd you call? And both of them said, my dad. I was telling him about the at-bats. And I'm like, see, it's the same as Little League. We're recreating high school without like, the puberty and the annoyingness.
Yeah.
Like
I watched my first game with my dad. Like, I went over on that Monday. I think it was at 6 p.m. when it aired, and we watched it together live on YouTube, because I knew if I sent him the link, he wouldn't be able to work it himself. So I had to go over there.
Was he proud?
He was very proud. And like, I scored in that first game. We lost. Our team was eliminated. The Love Yaz. We went 0 for 3, but he was very proud of what I did in the tournament. And you guys created this hometown feel and this backyard football feel, and it's really special.
It's wild. It's a credit to our crew and just like everyone that's been part of this, and then also the community that watches it, and like those early viewers that set the tone in the comment section that are in the live stream watching. Like, I don't think they realize what they're doing. Anyone that is part of, like, even you guys, those first 10 comments, we live in a tell me how to feel society. So if you can get nice people on the front lines telling everyone else, no, this is actually awesome, and that was really cool, it helps so much. So we owe like a ton to the people that allow us to do this weird shit and then like back it and are into it. I even like when they rip me apart, or like, some people start really, going in on the skill and the strategy, and So I'm guessing some people in our camp want to be like, hey, chill, like we're just having fun playing. But I'm like, no, they're invested. That's awesome. And they're right. I did suck. So
we heard, my team in particular heard a lot about our strategies because we had 3 of us who had never really played any kind of high level of hockey. So we were kind of one of the underdog teams. And yeah, we had no skill, and the comments let us hear it.
Amazing. Well, okay. So what's next? What are you doing now? Are you doing what's next for the Warehouse? Can you tell us?
So next week we're filming Blitzball Battle 4. And it'll air in February.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to edit them and curate them, but it's a little different because next year, 2024, is going to kind of be like a cohesive year of franchise series where we're going to have a whole video that we announce in January, like announcing kind of like what teams are involved, the whole slate, so people will know exactly what's coming up and who's partaking in the format. Because that's the one thing we've been bad at, because we really don't know. We've been just like going on the fly and be like, who's playing? What's the format? And it's like, no, in January, I want them to know the whole year so they can like have the whole narrative. So we're filming Blitzball Battle 4 in a week. It'll air in February. That's our big one because it's Blitzball. It's baseball based. It gets the most views. It's, kind of like the flagship tournament. And it's our 4th iteration of it. So tensions will be high next week. We're doing a bunch of like broadcast tests and all that. And then the one difference that I'm going to talk about on the schedule release is that it's all going to be connected now. So like floorball next year will be one of 4 tournaments in the Warehouse Cup where, you may be on McFlurry just for floorball, but K-Mac's going to be on McFlurry for all 4. And there's a point system. Going to be, hopefully we get people into this world of the same 8 teams competing in each tournament with I love that we have little offshoot worlds. Like if you guys come back for hockey, then they come and Ref Dan comes for floorball. And then we have different announcers and different umpires that come for the other leagues. So like building this, it's really crazy.
Yeah, this whole universe.
Yeah,
like
this is
Star
crazy.
Wars.
Yeah. So last question. What jersey is Shohei Ohtani wearing at the start of next season?
Oh, I still think I was going to say Dodgers, but I don't know if I think that anymore. They don't spend that big. He's not a Boris agent, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe some surprise team like the Rangers surprised us. Padres surprised us with Machado. I'd love if the Yankees surprised everyone. But I'm interested to see what his market's going to be because you would think it starts with $400 million.
Mm-hmm. Could have been higher if it wasn't for the injury. The injury, right?
The injury, yeah. I don't think anyone. Well, whatever. He's worth what he's worth. I don't know. I wanted to say Dodgers. I thought it was a layup that it was going to be the Dodgers. I hope not anywhere. Nowhere in the AL East, please.
Yeah, I think I heard Blue Jays. Is what he said. I think I heard Blue Jays. That's pretty cool, man. Thanks for that.
I don't know. I wouldn't. Then he's got to live in the 3rd country. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. True. You're right. Hey, Jimmy, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.